Picture this. It's 6:15 and your office is half empty. Most people left an hour ago, but you're still at your desk finishing a task that isn't yours. Why? Because your manager asked you to. He didn't ask if you had bandwidth. He didn't make it a formal request. He just sent a Slack message. Hey, can you take a look at this before tomorrow? So you did. Because that's what you do. You're the person who gets things done. That's what your last performance review actually said. Like it was a compliment. Like absorbing everyone else's slack is a career achievement. Now you're driving home, and suddenly your brain starts doing the math. That's the third time this month someone else's work ended up on your desk. Nobody said thank you. Nobody adjusted your workload. Nobody's even keeping track. And somewhere between the parking lot and your front door, a thought hits you. One you've been pushing down for months. What if none of this matters? And this is how exactly the system exploits you. It happened slowly, which is why you didn't catch it. You did a project well, really well, so they gave you the next one. You handled the difficult client without complaining, so now every difficult client routes to you. You trained the new hire because nobody else stepped up, and now you are the go-to person for all new hires, except none of that's in your job description, and none of it showed up in your paycheck. There's actually a name for this. It's called performance punishment. The better you perform, the more work migrates toward you. Not because you're being groomed for a promotion, but because you're the path of least resistance. You always say yes, and every time you do, management quietly files you under the one who handles things, which sounds like a compliment until you realize what it actually means. You're the person they dump work on because they know you won't say no. Meanwhile, look around. The person 2 desks overtakes 3 days to do what takes you 1. Their workload hasn't changed in 2 years. Nobody slides tasks onto their plate at 5 p.m. They set a speed, and management adapted to it. You set a speed too. Yours was just faster, and now you're running twice as hard for the same finish line. And here's where it gets ugly. Do the math. If you're paid for 40 hours a week, but you're consistently delivering 60 hours worth of output, you didn't exceed expectations. You gave yourself a 33% pay cut. Every task you absorbed without negotiating. Every time you stayed late to clean up someone else's mess, you were mathematically devaluing your own labor. And nobody forced you. You volunteered. Because that's what good employees do, right? So why do you keep doing it? Why does your brain keep signing up for a deal that clearly isn't paying off? Because your brain runs on a simple rule. Effort in, reward out. You do something good comes back. That's how school worked. That's how you got your first raise. So when you pour effort into a job and the reward doesn't show up, your brain doesn't stop. It doubles down and tries harder. Because the pattern has worked your whole life. This is the first place it hasn't. And your brain doesn't know how to process that yet. This actually has a name. It's called the just world fallacy, the assumption that effort automatically produces fair results. It doesn't, and the longer you operate on that assumption, the longer you keep pouring yourself into a system that takes what you give and never sends anything back. Now you know the person at your office who leaves at 5, doesn't volunteer for the extra project, doesn't answer emails after hours, does their job, does it fine, and goes home. You've looked at that person and thought, they don't care. They lack drive. They're coasting. Here's what you missed. That person isn't disengaged. They're the most psychologically secure person in your building. They don't need a manager's praise to feel whole. They don't need the gold star or the exceeds expectations rating or the nod in the team meeting. They figured out something you haven't. Who they are and what they produce are 2 different things, and they separated those a long time ago. And here's the part that really stings. Going above and beyond didn't just burn you out, it actively made you harder to promote. Because you became too valuable exactly where you are. Leadership doesn't move the person who's holding everything together. That would create a hole they'd have to fill. They promote the person who's visible, available, and politically positioned. The workhorse stays in the stable. The one who showed up to the right meetings gets the title. So let's go back to where we started. You're at your desk. It's 6:15, same task, same silence from above. But now you see the math. You see the pattern. You see that the person who left at 5 wasn't the one who gave up. They were the one who understood the terms of the deal before you did. This isn't about quiet quitting. This isn't about mailing it in or doing bad work. It's about stopping the one thing that was never part of the agreement, giving away your time, your energy, and your health to a system that priced you at 40 hours and watched you deliver 60 without ever adjusting the invoice. The system won't tell you to stop. It benefits too much from your guilt and your ambition and your inability to sit still when something's broken. So you have to tell yourself, do your job, do it well. And stop doing theirs for free. That's not laziness. That's the first smart thing you've done in years.